Oh, isn't that wonderful? Thank you so much to the trio. My name's Andrew Manze. I'm here to speak about Bach, but I think the three of them have just said far more about Bach than I would ever say, even if we're here right to the future. Thank you. I just check first, can you hear me? Is this okay? Good, great. So, as I say, thank you for that. This is some of the greatest music. Of course, I'm sure you know that is not the complete Goldberg variations. That is the theme and the first 5 variations. And I promise I will leave time so we can hear some more, the end of the variations at the end of this evening. This evening will be in 2 halves. I'll do a bit of talking. The trio have kindly agreed to stay and help me to show 1 or 2 things. And then we'll take a break, bit more talking, and then the music to finish the evening. So in that way, it's more like a concert than just a speech. That music, maybe you've heard the old anecdote that Mr. Goldberg needed a piece of music to play to his employer. The employer suffered from terrible insomnia, so Bach wrote these variations, and the whole thing is long, isn't it? It's 1 hour long about, if you play it, yeah. It's rubbish, the story. Goldberg was only 14 years old when this was written, so I mean, the story's wrong, but it's this sense that the music is hypnotic. And it's one of the things I really wanted to think about this evening, this idea that Bach can create such complexity. No, don't put your bow down, you're about to show us something. Bach can create such complexity from such simple things. Kati, would you mind just play us the Goldberg bass? The variations and the theme are all written over this line of notes. Thank you. That's lovely, thank you. That is what's called the Goldberg bass. And the whole of the variations are built on that. Every variation is a variation on that. A very simple thing, but incredible complexity that Bach creates, as you could hear. I mean, I even heard someone laugh at some point when they all got going. You can do anything you like with this music. You can close your eyes and go to sleep, which, of course, that was the original idea. You can listen intensely. You can spend your lives rehearsing it, and I think 3 people already have spent half their lives doing that. This music is sort of fractal. I'll come back to fractals in a bit later on. But also you can hear how Bach's music can be a metaphor for society. Here we just had 3 people, all very busy, playing basically in agreement, but they never ever played the same thing. They always disagreed within their agreement, and that bass line is locking everything together. But anyway, as I say, we'll come back to Goldberg's a bit later. I'm going to start off with something I promised my daughter. She's a 6-year-old girl, and I told her I wanted to borrow something from her, and I have to show you what I borrowed. I have to say, that belongs to my son. That is Bach, and that is Beethoven. That is my daughter's. And the reason I brought them in today is they were given to us, to my children, by some friends of ours, some musician friends. And I noticed that they sell these. These are little music boxes. You turn the thing in the back and they play music. And they sell these in the shop here. And I went in this afternoon because I'd heard something several times which surprised me. I'd heard this from people working with children and young people in schools in several countries. I was told this in Sweden, in Germany, and in England. When talking to the people who set up education projects, they said, 20 years ago, if you said name a classical composer, they said Beethoven. But nowadays, they're saying Bach. Roll over Beethoven. And so I went into the shop here, and I said, which is your biggest seller of all the dolls they have? They have quite a few. And they said Mozart. Bother. So that went wrong. Anyway, but just on a lighter note, I have to say that my daughter, when she was given this at the age of 2, she insisted on taking Beethoven's trousers down, and I've never really been able to think of Beethoven any other way, except with his trousers down, and no wonder he has such a surprised look on his face. But anyway, sorry Ludwig, the evening is not about you. Tonight is about Bach. I'll leave him here. Bach is sort of well known for being this mixture of a very great intellect and also a very, I can't think of a good word. His music is full of emotion and humanity, let's say, but it combines it with this sense of intellect, and that's often the thing people mention about him. For example, I wonder if Cecilia, could you show us about his name? For example, the name of Bach, B-A-C-H, translates into musical notes, because in German, B is a B flat, and H is a B natural for those speaking English. Yeah, that's the name of Bach, and it comes into some of his music, and actually I'll refer to that in a bit. Now, I just brought this because I need this. Oh, there we are. Oh, yeah. Yeah, just play it again, would you mind? And then, of course, Bach, being a clever guy, he has a lot of fun with his music. He will often do things like this and play backwards. Simple technique, but that's one he's using all the time in almost all his music. I would also say that, by the way, if that's his name again, he will also do this. But if you notice, actually, that is the same as doing this. So his name is a little limiting. So, but I thought about blinker. So I think it keeps falling off. I'm not good at these things. Yeah. Blinker, lilla. What's it called? Blinker, lilla. Well, I'll say it in English for those visitors. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. It's easier to say that. If I say, twinkle, twinkle, little star, we all know what I mean. If I sing it backwards, little star, twinkle, twinkle. See, Bach will do that all the time. He'll turn it upside down. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Or he'll go, star, little twinkle, twinkle. You see, he'll be doing it. So every musical idea potentially has 4 ways round. Bach's name, surprisingly, only has 2, but he does ingenious things with it. Another thing he's famous for is numbers. His name, B-A-C-H, they had a very simple way of translating that into numbers. Letter A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, and H is something else, I can't remember. And you add them together, and they come to 14, which must mean it's... Well, never mind, you can work it out. We've got a mathematician here, I hope. B-A-C-H adds to 14. Add his first names, Johann Sebastian, J-S-B-A-C-H, adds up to 41. And of course, he must have been in heaven when he worked that out. 14, 41, oh, wonderful. And you'll notice that he uses numbers 14, 41. I wonder if I can just quickly give you an example. I'll play the opening of the St. Matthew Passion. I'm going slightly out of order here, but never mind. Is this going to work? going to cut in there. Sorry, Bach. Just cut in. Sorry to do that to you. I wonder if you noticed that he signed the piece with his name. I doubt whether anyone noticed unless you read it in a book. I wouldn't have noticed it in 1,000 years or 1,000 performances of that music. The bass players, it's the cellos and the double basses at the beginning of that piece. This is the St. Matthew Passion. We're going to be here a long time, 3 hours. They play the first note. They're counting. They play 41, and then they move note. It's like his signature. And of course, only he's really bothered to do this. Probably no one else noticed, or maybe some of his musician friends sort of went up to him afterwards, that was nice at the beginning. You know, I'll play it to you again, we can count together. And then off. And they start the piece. Yeah, it's a tiny thing, but Bach's music is absolutely packed full of these things, and you look out for number 14 and number 41. Now then, I'm referring to Bach, like we all know who I mean, of course you do, though strangely enough in Mozart's lifetime, this man, Johann Sebastian, was referred to as the father of the famous Bach, because even soon after his death, his sons became actually better known. He was quite a sort of provincial, small-town composer, actually. So I'm talking about Johann Sebastian, of course, part of a huge family of musicians. He actually became an orphan at the age of 10 and went to live with his older brother. And at the age of 10, he was there practicing at home, and news came that one of their great uncles in another town, who was thought of as the greatest Bach, had died. And they actually agreed, well, that's the end of the Bachs now. There are no more Bachs. Now he is dead. And there's little Johann Sebastian. There's the most wonderful misprint or a mistake that a schoolboy made in an exam I share with you. There was Johann Sebastian Bach practicing on a spinster in the attic. I don't know if that translates very well, but it's rather rude. It should be practicing on a spinet in the attic. The little boy got the thing right. He was practicing on a spinster. And one of the things Bach did in his lifetime was to collect the music of his family, the composers before him, to preserve it. And he compiled a large archive of music, some of which survives today. But of course, he himself was producing a huge body of music as well, which I was talking about fractals earlier. You know, a fractal is like a cloud is fractal. You look at a cloud and you don't know whether it's quite close or very far away. Is it small and close or big and far away? Well, Bach's music can be like that. It can satisfy you however far away you are from it. You could be studying it like this all your life, or you could be just half asleep and still really enjoy it. In fact, it's been used for all sorts of things. When I was a boy in England, there was an advert on television which used the lovely air from the orchestra suite, the third suite, to sell cigars. And I always wondered if anyone had worked out how much of the cigar company's profits were down to Johann Sebastian Bach. And that always got me thinking about the way classical music is used or abused. And this is a total digression, but I'm always puzzled about the Oscars in 1985. As you see, this is a digression. Nothing against the movie A Passage to India or Maurice Jarre, who wrote the music. But the shocking thing is that the best picture that year and winner of 8 Oscars was Amadeus, and Mozart didn't even get nominated for Best Film Score. I find that totally shocking. I do understand that the best original song went to Stevie Wonder for I Just Called to Say I Love You, and I think that's okay. Mozart didn't stand a chance against Stevie Wonder, but never mind. That's a total digression. Anyway, back to Bach. There is Bach amassing pieces which all of them serve a purpose. In Baroque times, you don't have the time or the energy to do something without a very immediate reason. So, for example, his cantatas, they'd be written for, there are about 200 cantatas surviving, they'd be written for a particular Sunday of the year, or a particular religious holy day, a day of the church calendar, or else they were composed for events like a funeral or a wedding or a civic celebration or something like that. So they're very specific, but at the same time, this huge pile of cantatas, he must have had a cupboard full of them, because a lot of his manuscripts survive. They also form like the most perfect collection of church music. Unfortunately, we don't have all of them, we've lost some. If we had, it would be the most perfect collection. So he's writing music for a specific reason, but also for like a long-distance reason. I don't want to say posterity, because I doubt he was probably too humble a man to think about us here in Stockholm talking about Bach. Probably wouldn't have occurred to him, but he still did have this sense of leaving music to the people coming after him. Having said that, quite a lot of his projects are left unfinished. In fact, if you'd asked him, he might have well have been rather disappointed by the end of his life that many of his projects were unfinished, and he never really got the top jobs that he wanted. He tried to get more elevated positions in bigger cities and in richer courts. He never quite made it. In certain ways, his life was a bit of a failure. But of course, in many ways it wasn't. He was fulfilled in his work. He had a family, a large family. He was highly respected. So, I mean, he wasn't a failure, but I think he had some regrets. I just thought I'd mention one or two unfinished things, just so you see what I mean. There's a lovely book of organ music called the Little Organ Book, the Orgelbüchlein, which is full of chorale preludes. They're chorale melodies with organ preludes written around them. And many of them are 1 page long. I think some of them are two. When I say 1 page, I mean one side of the page, that much. Some are 2 sides long, but I don't think any of them are longer than that. And the book is all ready to be finished, and we have, I wrote it down, 46 of them are finished, but he numbered 164 pages to be filled. So we have roughly a third of what he intended to do. So that, for him, is sort of like a failure. For us, it's thank heavens we have 46, because each one is a miniature masterpiece. But for Bach, he's probably looking at saying, I never had time to finish that. And he was probably writing this to give to his students, to learn the art of taking a simple chorale melody, just as the musicians have taken a simple bass line, the Goldberg bass, and put complexity around it. This is what he was teaching his students and his sons as well. And his daughters, I should say. And his wife as well. He was sort of teaching her as well. I mentioned that the cantatas are either they're an unfinished project or we've lost a lot. His obituary says he composed 5 cycles of cantatas. That means enough cantatas for 5 years. And a church year required 72 cantatas. Now we have only about 200. So we've lost a lot of them, clearly. In fact, I believe of the 5th cycle, we have virtually nothing. And we're all wondering, did it ever exist? Or was it just sort of on paper it existed, but he never actually wrote it. Works do still appear. I might be proved wrong, and they may find it in a cupboard next week, because as you may have read a couple of years ago, they found an aria, possibly from a cantata. They found it in a shoebox in Weimar, and they called it, with the most amazing imagination, the shoebox aria. Well, that was just brilliant. But also about 12 years ago in Kiev, they found one of those Bach archives that, I mentioned Bach collected all his family music in a huge pile. He did a wonderful job preserving and many times copying out the music of the Bach family. And when he died, I think in his will, or certainly after his death, the music was divided up between his musical sons. And unfortunately, some looked after it better than others. And Carl Philipp, the second son, looked after his extremely well, but then in the Second World War, the Russians nabbed it, and it disappeared in about 1946 or 45, and wasn't found again until 1999 in Kiev. So there's every chance more Bach will appear. which of course would be very exciting because this man has never, as far as I know, he's never written a bad piece. He's also written a lot of music. He's by no means the most prolific. There are some extraordinary Baroque composers who wrote 2,000 cantatas and things. I mean, but to be honest, you would trade one Bach cantata for about 800 of theirs, you know, in terms of value. This man just did not have a bad day. And bear in mind also that of the hundreds of pieces of Bach we have very little music written that he wrote before the age of 35. Just because of where he lived and the way manuscripts survive. We have some of it he revised and used again, so we have those things, but a lot of the music written before the age of 35 is lost. And the man died when he was, I should know this, 65. So we've only got, you know, just over half a lifetime of active creative work there. Now then, I'm going to go to another picture. If I can do that. I'm so excited I managed to get this working today for the first time ever. I'm really sorry, it's quite blurred, but that's not really the point of it. The point is, this is another unfinished work. This is the last page of The Art of Fugue, one of his very major contributions in that. Writing fugues is maybe the most difficult thing a Baroque or any composer can do. And Bach wrote a work called The Art of Fugue, not only doing it, but showing everyone how it should be done. And this is the last page. I've got my little pointer now. I'm sorry the quality's not good. I dragged it off the internet. I'm really bad with technical things. You have to forgive me. You may, if you have extremely good eyes, there's a note up there, that one there, and then 3 here, there, and there, and there, are the name of Bach. I don't expect you to see it, but I just thought you'd like to know. It's there. And then the writing here is not Johann Sebastian, that's Carl Philipp, the son. And what it says there, I'm sure you can read it, it says, I'll translate it, because I've got it written down here. At this point, at the point where the composer introduces the name Bach in the counter-subject to this fugue, the composer died. Now, that was Carl Philipp's explanation of why the piece is not finished. It's not finished. You might reasonably expect about another minute of music. There are various theories as to why it's not finished, but I'm afraid his death is not one of them, because he wrote this about 3 or 4 years before he died. I mean, when I say he wrote it, that piece of paper is written then, because you know from his handwriting and also the fact that he went blind and didn't write anything in his last, physically write anything. He had an amanuensis. So, he didn't die. He left it unfinished, and there are many theories, but my favorite theory is that it's sort of a rather romantic idea, I think, that it's like a chess player, like a grandmaster playing a game of chess. He makes a move, and the rest of us just see it as a move, a very, very good move. But, we see it and we say, wow, what a great move. And he stands up, and the player he's playing against, who is also a grandmaster, resigns. Because they can both see that the job is done, that all remains is for Bach, to win the game, but it's going to take another 45 minutes. Let's not bother. That's this idea that he has done his job. Now, this is the last of the fugues. It's an incredible thing. He starts with a theme, as all fugues do, and makes a fugue on it. Then he brings in another theme and makes a fugue on that, and combines them. Then he brings a third theme, and that's the name of Bach, his own name, and makes a fugue on that, and then combines all 3. And that's what you see on this page, is all 3. If you can see anything at all, that's what's happening. All 3 are being combined. It's an extraordinary achievement. No other composer has done it, or put it this way, they have, but no one's done it remotely well and made a good piece of music out of it. He has. And he's combined them, and then he's stopped. And it's as if he's saying, sort of, that's enough. I'm in danger of hubris here. It's God who should be able to do these things, and actually I can do it, but I think I'm going to stop here. Things are getting dangerous. I don't know. Who knows? We will probably never know. And then probably they'll find another ruddy shoebox and find the ending in it. But anyway, that would be just so upsetting. I'll burn it. Anyway, but this idea of hubris is very important to Bach. Half his cantatas are about how we are all sinners, and he believes it. He's a deeply religious man. They've researched his library and discovered that he probably had twice as many books concerning theology as he had books on music. He was really very interested in theology. I mentioned numbers and his name. There's also a sense that numbers are a simple tool to communicate with. I wonder if I can find here we go. That way. We did that one. There's him. Here we are. This is a page. It doesn't matter if you can't read music at all, but if you can, it doesn't matter either. This is a page from the St. Matthew Passion. What you're seeing is all the choir singing at this point, and it's the moment where Christ, it's at the Last Supper, and Jesus says, "One of you will betray me." And the disciples are all completely thrown into a panic, and they ask, "Lord, is it me?" And they ask in German, of course, because the Passion's set in German, "Herr, bin ich." Now, I've tried to make things easier. I've put a little box around the word Herr, Lord. And if you notice, if you can see the soprano line up there are 3. Herr, Herr, Herr. The alto line, there are 3. Herr, Herr, Herr. The tenor line, 3. Herr, Herr, Herr. The bass line, Herr, Herr. Only 2. Add them up, and they come to 11. Because, of course, only 11 disciples asked him, "Is it me?" One of them didn't need to. Yeah? Now, I'm going to play it to you now, and you'll see how quickly this moment passes. If I press the right button. Now, it goes by very fast. Was anyone counting those in Bach's time? I should think, actually, yes, amazingly, some were. It could be. That was from a concert I did, and I now regret it went so fast. Maybe it should be done more slow. Lord, is it me? Herr, bin ich. Now then, it goes on. If you notice, a bass singer is missing. There were 3 sopranos, 3 altos, 3 tenors, 2 basses. The bass is missing. Well, about, a minute later in the Passion, Judas is speaking alone to, these are I couldn't get the music onto the thing. The evangelist says, then Judas, the betrayer, said to him, "Bin ich, Rabbi? Is it me, teacher, Rabbi?" The evangelist, Jesus said to Judas, "Du sagest." You said it. He doesn't answer yes or no. He says, "You said it." Now, I particularly am looking at the words. That's why I put the words there. If I go nip back to that one, you noticed they sung. If I can get this right, here we go again. Here we are. Herr, bin ich? Yeah. Then you look at what Judas asks, bearing in mind Judas knows the answer. He sings this. Bin ich, Rabbi? I'll play you the very moment.
Da antwortete Judas, der ihn verriet, und sprach, bin ich, Rabbi? Er sprach zu ihm, du sagest.
It's a beautiful moment. The most touching moments in the Matthew Passion are between Jesus and Judas. The most loving music, the softest, most delicate moments. And I find it very beautiful that having the disciples, all 11 disciples asked, Herr, bin ich? Judas knows the answer. turns it round because he doesn't need to know the answer. He doesn't need Jesus to answer. Bin ich Rabbi? And in the Passion, Judas is the only man to call Jesus Rabbi, teacher. And also, I'll play it one more time because as Jesus says, Du sagest, there's this lovely soft music as he sings that, which has been heard twice before in the Passion, when Jesus refers to his own death coming. And now he's referring to Judas's death coming, and he's associating Jesus and Judas. And Bach, through the whole Passion, is putting these two men side by side, making their relationship very, very intimate. Now, this sort of thing, nowadays performances go by too fast often. We don't have time to listen in that sort of detail, and also our habits are not to listen in that sort of detail. But I'm sure that many people in Bach's congregation were listening and hearing these messages. I have to say, many were not. Some might have been asleep. Some might have been waiting for this endless Easter Passion to finish so they could go and have lunch, you know. But I'll just play it once more time because it's such a beautiful thing.
Da antwortete Judas, der ihn verriet, und sprach, bin ich's, Rabbi? Er sprach zu ihm, du sagest.
A wonderful moment, or terrible moment, really. So often in the smallest detail like that, I hope you've picked up my point. I'd be rather sad if I see these things and no one else does, mind you. It wouldn't be the first time. Because anyway. Sometimes Bach is using these details to give a message. Sometimes he's having fun with himself. I mean, 41, the number 41 at the beginning of a piece, that's probably just a private joke. Sometimes he's having fun with his colleagues, with his sons, who are very musical. His whole family's musical, actually. Here's a puzzle. This is the title page of another of his very famous books of music. Again, sorry for the quality. It's The Well-Tempered Klavier. And you see the top line says, Das wohltemperierte Klavier. That is his handwritten title page of one of his famous books of harpsichord music, sometimes known as the 48, because it contains 48, well, I should say, 2 sets of 24 preludes and fugues, one prelude and fugue in each of the 24 keys. C major, C minor, C sharp major, C sharp minor, like that. So it's an amazing collection of preludes and fugues. And he called it Well-Tempered. And for years, and I mean hundreds of years now, people were wondering, what does well-tempered mean? And a temperament is the way you tune the scale. A piano tuner will tune the piano and will probably be using equal temperament. Put all the notes in equal distance from one another. It's intellectually a very pleasing system. It's actually, for the ear, it's not a nice system. Every key, every interval is compromised, so there's nothing really clean and pure there. Now, in Bach's time, they were using a much greater variety of temperaments, and I have to say, I hope you don't mind me passing this on, but the musicians this evening are using a temperament. Even they probably don't even think of it in that way. I heard them playing earlier on, warming up, practicing, and they were finding these chords and finding the pure intervals. They were using a temperament. It's to make music sound good. Anyway, so here he called it the Well-Tempered Klavier. And for years, people have written articles and wondered what it was. And then, literally 7 years ago, several people realized that Bach told us. And that for over 200 years, we've been looking at the answer. We just didn't see it. It's there. That squiggle at the top of the page, you see there's a squiggle. In fact, it's been cut off by someone. Someone shaved the page to tidy it up at some point. There's the squiggle reconstructed. That squiggle looks just like a doodle, like a decoration. It's not. It's the temperament. There are 12 curls. They're all slightly different designs to tell you how big the intervals are, and he's even marked one of them above the word clavier. You see a little C touching one of the curls. That tells you that note is C. The tuning system, the well-tempered, is there. It always was, staring at us. And no one saw it until 2003. And we're all feeling really silly, you know? Because he couldn't have made it clearer in a way, but in another way, he's hidden it from us for all those years. He's had fun. He's been laughing. And probably his sons have been as well, because they knew. They probably saw it and understood. But no one thought to tell us. The man's really annoying. How can you do this to us? So he does like his puzzles. Now then, before we finish, a picture. You've seen this a few times now, because it's really the only very good, wonderful painting we have. This was painted. It's rather appropriate for the Rolf Schock seminar. Bach was invited to become a member of a rather elite sort of academy of musicians, and he accepted, of course. It was a great honor. They were required to send a painting, which could be hung in the academy's building. When you have your painting painted, your portrait painted at this time, in any time, I think, you think about what you're going to wear, his best coat with... Oh, I'm sorry, the quality's not very good. But he has got his best coat on and shiny buttons. He's got his absolute best wig. He might even have borrowed it, it's so nice, you know, it's so good. He's got his serious look on his face, but there's a little sort of twinkle in his eye. But the thing I'm interested in is the music he's holding. Because now if I were holding a piece of music, I would be holding it like that, you know, like that. And he's holding it like this. Yeah? Haha. Now, I'm sorry, the quality of this picture is dreadful. So we zoom in, and that's it. That's what he wrote. In fact, that's the copy he sent in to them, a little hard copy. It's again, terrible quality, I'm sorry, but you can see it well enough, see 3 lines of music. And I wonder if I could ask my musician friends here to actually play us this piece. It's a canon, it's called Canon Triplex in 6 voices. Well, here's the canon triplex. It goes like this. It must be the shortest piece Bach wrote. I counted, it's 30 notes on that page, and it's a Goldberg canon, because Kati is playing the old Goldberg bass you heard earlier. Do you mind just to play us that? Thank you. It's a Goldberg canon, a canon on the Goldberg bass. Now then, he's called it Canon Triplex. That means 3-fold canon, which means there are 3 voices. 3 lines, but he said in 6 voices. The reason is that each line can be played as a canon, but you have to solve it. He's not going to tell you how to do it, so you puzzle over it, you try things, and eventually, it's like a Rubik cube, you know, that sort of, and eventually, that's it. You play them upside down and a bit late, and you get this. So then the trio are now going to play what you see there upside down. Thank you for that. Now then, we have a trio in 6 voices. We only have 3 players, so we need your help. It's time to sing. What we're going to do, before we have a break, is that each player will, in turn, play their music quite strongly so they can pick it up. And we're going to divide you into 3 groups. I was thinking at first men and women, and I hadn't thought it through well enough. We're going to have to do, let's say, let's say that from this side of the hall till, let me give you 6, yeah. Not the last 3 seats here, but all the other people. So seat 4 that way, you're going to be the first to start singing. You're going to be the cello part, the bass line. Sing it anywhere you like in your voice that's comfortable, but sing it loud. Then, the 3 lines here and the 3 lines here, that's going to work. Yes, the first 3 lines here are going to then sing the viola part, loud. And then the last chairs, you're going to sing the violin part. Again, sing in any octave you like. What we just need is to get the trio going, and once you're going, the players are going to slip over to the upside down trio. And then we'll have all 6 voices going. See if this works. It went awfully well in rehearsal when you weren't here. Well, we'll see. So here's the bass part. Listen to it once, and then you'll join in as Cutty plays it. Let's use the word la. La, 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 la. Nice and loud. La, la. Yes, wonderful. Oh, this is going to be good. Okay, now then, let's listen to the viola. Keep going. Now the middle part. Great, great. Now then, this is the tricky one. You've got the hard job. Very good. A bit louder. Thank you. Keep going, keep going. And now any time you like, you go up the other. Good. Very good. One more and then we stop. And we stop. 2, 3, 4. Bravo. Thank you so much. Thank you too. So let's take a break. Yeah. Thank you. We take a break. See you after. Thanks.